Hi, I'm Julia, and I work at Artbeat Studios, where we are a fine art print studio. And today I will be interviewing photographer slash artist.
Ray Lopez.
So, Ray has been with us since 2021, correct?
No, I would say it was about the end of 2018. No, take that back. It was my first sale was in 2020, like in April. During COVID, everybody was at home and a lot of people were on the internet looking at Facebook and whatnot. And I used to post to this group called Only in Southern California. And this guy had seen it and said, wow, I'd like to buy that. And I said, great, I'd like to sell it. So I had already done an acrylic here a little bit earlier, like maybe 2018, but it was just before I ever had a good camera and I knew what I was doing, and I took a photo and I thought it was great, and I ended up giving it to my daughter, and now it sits in the back of her closet.
Since you've been with us, I would say probably 2018, 2020, but how long have you been a photographer?
Well, it started probably in 2019. I was in a band, I'm a bass player, and we had a really good thing going, and two of the guys decided they wanted to move on and not do covers anymore. And we broke up, and I thought, what am I going to do creatively and with my time, extra time? So I said, well, I really like photography, I think. I want to give it a try. So I started the journey.
Okay, so you just picked up photography after being a bass guitarist, is that what I heard?
Well, we all have iPhones and all that, and we all take photos, and I had a camera several years ago, before my daughters were born, and when they were born, basically everything stopped. Music, anything that I like to do, and it was all dedicated to them. And I'd come home one day and one of them got a hold of this old camera I had, film camera, and basically it was done. And like many other things, and I just said, well, it's your fault because you didn't put it away somewhere where they can't reach it.
Right. Dad first, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of film, what other styles and techniques have you picked up since your daughters got rid of all your film cameras?
Well, since the digital era, right after the band broke up and I started focusing, I think the first kind of genre or niche, I would say, was, basically ocean, because I've been a surfer for many years. So I always thought, hey, I love the ocean. And then I realized that, sunsets are pretty awesome. But with the camera I had at the time, there was not a lot of dynamic range. So, I had to learn how to do 3 exposures, blend those together, and that was I needed to know how, so that's when the YouTube came in. And that's how I started, but it's kind of branched around many different things, I just don't I love to do sunsets, don't get me wrong, but, I started to appreciate wildlife, birds, and in fact, there's one right there. And I really enjoy just everything about photography. I also have a water housing by AquaTech Image Solutions, and I have a 5D Mark IV that I put that inside the housing, and I swim out and I'll do shots just of early morning sunrises and take shots of the barrel and try to use the light to create magic. It's very hard because the ocean never cooperates, so you get what you get.
I was gonna say, sorry to cut you off, but I was gonna say, since you are out in the ocean, what kind of equipment do you use?
Well, first of all, fins. You got to have fins on your feet. Definitely a wetsuit.
Okay.
And you want to protect your ears, because a lot of times you're turning to the side and you're looking down the barrel and the waves coming in like that. And I've been smacked in the ear, so I wear like a hoodie, like a wetsuit over my head. And I should put wax in my ears because I've had 2 surgeries. 3 actually, and I wax and then put that over so I don't get water, because water can be very cold at that time in the morning with the air temp. So yeah, fins, wetsuit, and then the AquaTech water housing. And don't use a flash, but I know that you could buy one that fits outside the housing.
Okay, so speaking of AquaTech housing, I just kind of wanted to know what exactly that is.
Well, I believe it's made out of resin, and it's pretty thick, so it weighs a good amount of pounds, and just basically is air or water sealed. It's got seals all around it, so you throw your camera in there. You have a outside trigger on the outside that's watertight, and then there's 2 clips at the top. You clip. You make sure you always do your double check, and then you've got to, put your lens in there. And I happen to have on the side of it where you can zoom in, zoom out. And it's got a gear that goes around the lens when you put it in. You got to put it in, the same way every time, because sometimes you'll get out there and it won't work, and it's so frustrating because something went wrong. You didn't do your due diligence. So it weighs about close to 10 pounds. It's a lethal weapon, so you don't want to get hit with it, especially when you're swimming around in chaos.
Have you ever been hit with it?
I have been popped in the mouth, but nothing serious. It was enough to wake up.
Okay.
Whoa,
Yeah.
It was early in the morning. I think it was the first wave, and I was just not all there. So I was just gonna hop over the wave, and I had it in my hand. With there's a pistol grip that you can use to pull the trigger and take the photos that way. So there's 2 ways to do it. You can hold it like this without the pistol grip and take it up here, or you can hold it down with the pistol grip. So I had the pistol grip, and I was trying to hop over the wave, and boom, popped me in the lip. And I was like, whoa, okay, let's not do that again.
Speaking of early morning, what's your favorite time to take photos?
Anytime.
Anytime?
I prefer golden hour and blue hour, and in the mornings, definitely early mornings when I can get up.
Okay. Speaking of sunrises, are the pictures on the acrylics, was that a sunrise or was that a sunset?
Both of those were sunsets.
Oh.
So you're kind of looking to the west. The one that I actually have the housing, that one's in Laguna. And the other one was at the Montage up on top of the cliff, and that was the sun to my back, facing south, and that was a sunset as well.
Okay.
And sometimes I like shooting with the sun at my back, so I'm not having to worry about blowing out, underexposing and all that.
Speaking of Laguna, is there a favorite spot locally that you like to shoot over the other?
Definitely Laguna.
Yeah.
Yes. There's so many places that I haven't even been down to yet. But yeah, I mean, the beach is there. There's so many coves. They got rocky cliffs. They got palm trees. Of course, beautiful homes up there. But it's so, beautiful there.
From your pictures, I could see it definitely. So
That's why it's a choice.
I would say one question that I have been wanting to ask you is, do you have a dream location to photograph, and have you been there?
Oh, wow. There are so many beautiful places here just in America that I haven't been to. I haven't been to Yosemite, and I've lived here since the early 70s. Never been into Yosemite. I'd love to go there. I haven't been to the Mojave, driven through there. I like Mono Lake up there off the 395, beautiful road. Parts of Arizona I'd like to go to, But as far as the dream, yeah, there's a place in the Maldives that's in the Indian Ocean. I'd love to go to Indonesia for the water part, just everything. I'm sure it's just unbelievable there. So,
Okay, so to kind of go back on the 2 acrylics that we have today, what were kind of your thoughts and feelings, if you had any, while you were shooting these pictures?
well, the one in the water, my thought was to get a really nice sunset and to capture the wave. I wanted a wave in the picture. So unfortunately that day I wasn't very big, and I did shoot quite a lot of photos, probably 300 or 400 that time. And I had a couple. There's two really good ones, and the one that you're seeing now would be the one that I kind of picked as one of my favorites out of the batch. And I just wanted it to break over that reef. There's a reef right there at in the mid left, and I like that little spot because at the right tide and the right time, it creates this really cool little, as it breaks over that rock, it just kind of sucks up and creates this nice wave, vortex. So, but this time I was on the other side of it, and I just was, wow, look at that sky. It's just lighting up amazingly, you know. And trying to keep still. That's the thing about that water is moving around at all times. And it's not like sitting a camera on a tripod. You got to hold still, but you're being pulled by the current this way, that way, back and forth. So my mind was to get a good shot, get the timing right, and to keep as still as possible, which is really hard.
Definitely, especially I do like how the shot that you did get, it creates a beautiful scene. You have that, you see the wave curl over, you see the sunset, all the clouds are kind of going in one direction, which creates a really pretty
Kind of
point of
leads
view.
your eye into it.
Exactly, really good movement. The one thing I did want to talk about, the other picture that we have today with more of like the foliage, is that you pointed out something that I was not going to notice until you pointed it out, but it was really cool. If you want to tell what you have, a little thing in the middle of your image.
Well, a spider. And this picture was taken in October, and we all know that spiders come out in October. They get their last goodies, you know,
Right.
before it's time to, you know, winter and all that. And I didn't even know it at the time when I was standing there taking the photo.
Okay, so you were taking this and you didn't even notice that the little spider crawled down?
No, not at all, until I got home and I started editing it and looking at everything that I didn't like about it, you know, and there wasn't much, by the way. And then I looked and I was just pixel peeping and everything, making sure that I had sharp focus and everything. And as I looked around, like I think a day after, because I usually look at them and I don't make decisions on them, I will edit a little bit and then look at it the next day, and then, you know, sometimes a fresh set of eyes on these things is always good to go back. And then I pixel peeping, I just stopped in my tracks and went, oh my God, look, I got a little spider in there. And that just makes it, you know, along with the flowers, and then that yucca plant or whatever that is, I don't know, but you got people way in the distance on the point there, and just beautiful Laguna, you know?
It really is, yeah. No, I was pretty impressed, especially with all the colors that you have going on in this picture. And I was gonna ask, like, how much editing goes into your images, if any, or just kind of like touching up. What's that kind of process like?
Oh, it can be tedious, but if you have to spend more than an hour or so on your photo, then it's probably not that good of a photo. But I'm kind of a little intense, you know, where everything has to be perfect, especially if someone's buying it or something. I go through it over, you know, and just make sure that there's nothing out of place that I don't like. And sometimes I'll take stuff out, or I'll just add something in. But the most important thing is just having the color right, trying to remember exactly how you saw it and to edit it and not over edit, you know, oversaturate colors or anything like that.
Because we were going to talk about why you chose acrylic for these two pieces and not metal, let's say. Do you kind of have an opinion on why you chose acrylic over metal, or was it just preference?
Well, this customer has bought other acrylics of mine, and he prefers the acrylics over the metal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Does he have a reason?
Well, I think it's the robust color that you get with the acrylics. It's almost like it's framed with glass over it, you know. It's there is a difference. And,
For sure, I agree, honestly.
I would prefer to sell nothing but acrylics, but a lot of people, when they ask me, oh, I'd like to buy one of your photos, you know, how much would it be for, you know, say acrylic, you know, 30 inches or so, and I'll tell them, and they'll be like, oh, well, wasn't planning on spending that much, so I'm like, okay, well, what's your budget?
I was gonna say, I do think they have a similar appearance, both acrylic and metal, just if you were to look really far. But I do think close up, acrylic does give that kind of glass texture versus the metal's a little bit more.
Well, I think if you're going to be in a gallery or something, you probably wouldn't want to have your pieces as metal. You'd probably want them on acrylic to give that more of a look professional, I guess you'd say. It's not that the metal isn't, but say in a restaurant or something like that with a lot of people and activity and whatever, you'd probably want to go with metal, I would think, with something like that. And it, you know, metal is much lighter, you know, and it still has a really nice look to it. As a matter of fact, we have one of my photos here that is on metal, and it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, yes, would it look good in acrylic? Absolutely, but it looks fantastic on the metal.
It really does, honestly. Like, it's still crisp, like you have all your pictures, and it still has that vibrant color that you would see in an acrylic. So I do agree with you with that. Speaking of kind of styles and like where you like to take pictures, what kind of gear do you use when you're taking these pictures?
Well, I've always been a Canon user. I've thought of switching. Sorry, Canon, but I'm still with you. I'm using the Canon R6 right now. I'm using a Sigma lens for the telephoto, which is a 150 to 600 millimeter, and then I have it's a 24 to 105. It was like the lens that came with the 5D, and then for I think the shot of Laguna in the water, that was probably on my wide angle. I think that's 18 to 35. So I have a good quiver of lenses, so I'm covered, you know, just about in all areas. However, I'm trying to, since the R6 now is mirrorless, I need to go to the RF lenses, but there's not a lot and they're very expensive, so I'm kind of using the old EF lenses right now, and hopefully someday I can be equipped with all the RF lenses.
Sounds good. With all the equipment and gear that you have used, is this like your favorite so far, or do you prefer other cameras?
I'm really enjoying the mirrorless, the dynamic range in these new mirrorless cameras, and the R6 handles low light, which is great for when you're shooting early mornings with the wildlife, with the light's not so good, at a fast shutter speed and a high ISO. So I'm just amazed at what those cameras can do these days, and they're just getting better all the time. So I'm glad that I went mirrorless, and there's a big difference between the old DSLRs and these new mirrorless cameras.
That's good. Well, I appreciate you coming to Artbeat Studios to do this interview.
Well, I appreciate you guys asking me to come here. It's been enjoyable. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Anna.
Of course. And thank you. This is from Artbeat Studios to you. I don't know, like and subscribe. What do we say at the end?
So if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to tickle that bell so when we come out with new content, you'll be alerted.
That was good. Don't forget to tickle it. Thank you so much.